Alright, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. And in the last video, we did a landing on Kerbin's satellite, the Moon. Or Mun, whatever you prefer, it doesn't really matter. But in this video, we are going to be doing a flyby of Minmus and try our damnedest to return to Kerbin from said flyby. So from this mission, we are going to get right around, like, 400,000 funds, about 20 science, and I think a total reputation of about 36. So it's a pretty good idea that we do this. And plus there's no other enticing contracts that I really want to test out just yet. I know a lot of the tourist missions can get you quite a few, but I like to stick with the main, just go to this place, do this thing, the Kerbal record-keeping society or whatever the hell those chain of contracts are. I really like them, and they seem to be kind of the main objectives of Kerbal Space Program. So we're going to go ahead and go forth with our mission to do a flyby of Minmus. I feel like that was the longest fuck intro to say, hey, we're going to Minmus. Okay, so pretty much the only research nodes that I want to go ahead and get, because we have a ton of science points, are the heavy rocketry for 90 science, and this will give us the Poodle liquid fuel engine. So it has a great engine ISP in a vacuum at 350, so it's a really efficient engine, especially very early in the game. We also get the RE15 skipper liquid fuel engine, and I don't use this one a lot just because it usually doesn't have enough thrust, or as much thrust as I would like. So we're going to go ahead and research this just for the Poodle engine, and then we're going to go to the heavier rocketry module and go ahead and grab this mainsail liquid fuel engine. I don't use the twin bore also a lot, but I do use the mainsail liquid fuel engine quite a bit. And honestly, I don't know when either of these are really advantageous over the other. I just seem to like the mainsail engine one, the mainsail liquid fuel engine, just because it's a lot easier to build like heavy rockets with 2 fuel tanks on the side without any part clipping and stuff like that. So I don't know, I just like it better, and it even has a slightly better gimbal range. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that for 160 points, and I only want it for this mainsail engine because we're gonna use basically this as our main stage engine and the Poodle as our second stage engine. I feel like this fucking music is bumping today. I don't know why it feels that way, but it does. Does this not have fuel in it? Why does this not have fuel in it? Okay, whatever. I feel like that could have been something they changed in the update to make this have fuel in it, because I feel like that makes sense, but whatever. Dude, this thing looks fucking dinky. But it's gonna work. It's absolutely gonna work. Oh, I did also figure out that if we press this Delta V thing right here, we could do a little bit better on our Delta V statistics. So since this is going to be our second stage, and we're going to be using this solely in a vacuum and not at sea level, we can just do that. And so it shows us that instead of 951 meters per second and a thrust to weight ratio of 0.54, we hit the vacuum, we now get a Delta V of almost 3,700 and a thrust to weight ratio of 2.1, which is honestly an insane improvement. So this is very good for that. And I kind of forgot about this, but I was watching, I believe, Shadow Zone. He's a KSP guy. He does a lot of Kerbal Space Program videos, but I was watching him, and he was doing like a rundown of update 1.6. So I was like, you know what, I'll watch this because I don't know everything about KSP 1.6, and I learned some things. So I learned how to do that, and I think I knew that when the update came out. I just completely like forgot about it, but whatever, we know it now, and we can now adjust and be a little bit more sure with our rocket building. So basically what we can do from here is we can take the Delta V value of the main stage at sea level, and then we can just add on the Delta V for the second stage in a vacuum. So we get right around, like, I think 7,000 meters per second. It's right around 6,700 meters per second of Delta V. So it's very good, and this will definitely get us to Minmus and back very, very easily. And we're also starting off with a very good thrust to weight ratio at 1.94. So this rocket's gonna get very, very fast right at the start. And pretty much all we need to do from here is add some aerodynamics. So I'm gonna add a little bit more than I normally do, just because this is a very large rocket, which is going to have a lot of mass right in the middle there. So let's see how many we can add before we can get this down. So there's 2, there's 3, there's 4. Let's get 8 fins on this thing. That way we get the the aerodynamic, what is this? Aerodynamic overlay, whatever. This little node, we want this behind the center of mass. So the further away from the center of mass that it is, the more stable in flight it's gonna be. And I guess if we wanted to add some science here, we can also do that. So let's add a couple mystery goos just so we can bump up our science pretty well and get on with some other stuff after we complete this contract for the Kerbin Record-Keeping Society. So I'm gonna be honest, it looks a little bit wonky, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna work fine. Let's go ahead and select our crew. Jebadiah, why not? As always, pretty much gonna use Jebadiah up until we get into the more longer and dual Kerbal kind of missions. And you know, I feel like if we really wanted to, we could also add some Science Junior on there. It actually makes it look a little bit better, adds a little bit of a stack, kind of makes it look like Saturn V a little bit. Just a little bit, though. Just a little bit. Okay, and I'm gonna call this rocket good to go. We should probably name it, though, real quick. So kind of to stay within the same naming scheme that we have been, we're gonna call this Min1 FBTO, flyby to orbit. Because as much as I would love to just fly by Minmus and then return to Kerbin without having to do an orbit's almost necessary for how we like to get back to Kerbin. Kind of like similar to the last two moon videos, we're gonna pretty much just go retrograde in the direction of Minmus's orbit. So this is gonna be kind of a similar, very similar video to the last two, but I feel like once we start getting interplanetary missions through the contracts, we'll kind of beef it up on the variation of the videos. And as well, once we start getting some more funds, we can start doing a little bit more fun stuff, start making rovers, bases, and that sort of thing. And one thing I feel like I'm really tired of showing at this point is us getting into an orbit with very similar rocketry. So what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna skip to the point where we have got a very nice suborbital trajectory and then just kind of continue the video from there. Okay, so as you'll notice right here, we do have a kind of a new mod. I am a little bit annoyed that I don't have the D-Magic Precise Maneuver Node mod as of yet. So I went with an alternative. I believe it's Linux Guru Gamer or something like that. But he's got a pretty decent mod for Maneuver Node editing. I don't like it near as much as D-Magic's, but it works fine if you kind of fiddle around with it a little bit. Oh, I forgot about the stage separation. There we go. Oh, every fucking time. I never remember that. All right, let's see if we got that close enough. Close enough. All right, I'll take it. So the next thing we need to do after we have gotten into a stable orbit around Kerbin is set Minmus as our target instead of the moon, even though it is technically a moon. And now we want to find our descending node, because it's our closest one. We're going to hit this next. We'll go ahead and slap that bad boy right on there. We're going to go ahead and pin the ascending node, and then we are going to use this a little precise node mod here, and we're going to try and get this as good as possible. There we go. So I think that is going to work very, very nicely, and we have a burn time of 11 seconds. And since this craft is so small now, it's very easy to rotate over to our maneuver. So let's just go ahead and warp until the next maneuver, and that'll put us right where we need to be and about a minute out from the T-0. Okay, so 11 seconds, so we're gonna burn in between 6 and 5, just right in the middle of them, and that way we should get as precise as we can with this maneuver. So here we go, halfway between 6 and 5. We should see that 0 right on the, there we go. Yep, right on the 2. Okay, we have a descending node and a ascending node of 0.1. That's good enough. We overshot it a little bit. Probably should have changed the thrust on that, so we got an even number here, and so we could burn a little bit longer. But from here, now all we need to do is make a maneuver. And since we're just doing another Kerbin to Kerbin moon transfer, interesting. Okay, so we can get a moon and Minmus encounter in one go. And it's only going to take us 35 seconds if we start burning now. Let's do that. Yeah, so this is probably a little bit sloppy and unplanned. We're going to try to get 2 encounters in one, because, you know, why the hell not? Because all we really need to do, we're not doing like a really precise mission here. All we're doing is a flyby of Minmus and probably an orbit, because we kind of need to orbit to make sure we get back to Kerbin. But if we're risky, we don't necessarily have to. But basically, since this isn't going to be super precise, I'm not going to worry about it too much. And hopefully this doesn't end badly here, because I don't know where this encounter is supposed to be. I don't know what happens after the encounter. It's not really telling me this. What if I go to Minmus and I focus view on Minmus? Does it tell me any different? No, it doesn't. Okay, so this could get interesting, folks. This could get very interesting. This could be like our first failed mission. Like, as much as I could have just cut out all the failed missions, I haven't had one yet. So I've had a lot of practice with like Moon and Minmus missions. Pretty much everything we've done so far that really haven't needed to cut out any missions or anything like that. We've been pretty solid as far. Me and Jebadiah over here are doing great. We're fucking running the whole Kerbin NASA Corporation. Okay, let's get rid of this maneuver, and then we're gonna go ahead and warp until we encounter the moon. Okay, so we are in the moon's orbit now, so we should be able to see where we're gonna end up in Minmus's orbit. Why is it way the hell out here? Why is it showing it like that? Okay, well, at least we have a periapsis. Is it supposed to be showing it like that? So I'm supposed to encounter it here, right? And then we'll do this kind of whole loopty thing around Minmus. We'll just go for it. If it does fail, you won't see this, and I'm just gonna cut this out. So I guess we might as well try, right? We have no use for being at the moon any longer, so we're just gonna speed this up a little bit. Oh, okay. I think our Minmus encounter is now solved. I still don't know why this is here. This never really, I don't think I've ever seen this show up before. So I don't know what this is. Normally it's just this, right? We'll find out. We'll find out what's behind all this. What's behind the happenings going on here. Nothing's really happening. It seems that that's pretty much perfect. Okay, this is really sloppy. I understand this. So far. This has not been, I feel like this is not a good mission, and I really hate doing that, but it's also working really well. Like, I'm just not going through all the steps that I should be. I'm just kind of like, fucking slap it on, we'll do it, whatever. But it's working. So we've completed the contract, right? Like, we've flown by Minmus. I guess we can do a little bit of science while we're here, yeah? Observe materials bay. We'll keep it. We'll do a crew report. We'll keep that. We'll do an EVA report. So we're going to EVA report with Jebadiah. We're going to go back into the command pod. We're going to observe the mystery goo. We're going to do both of them at the same time, because there's a little bit of space that we're not going to fill up right away, so we'll just keep those. And then we're going to do a barometer, a pressure scan, and a temperature scan, and we're going to go ahead and keep those as well. What did I just press? Oh, the brake button. Oh, that means nothing. That means nothing without wheels. Okay, so, like I said earlier, I kind of wanted to do an orbit, but since the moon and Minmus didn't really change our orbit too much, we still have a really elliptical orbit around Kerbin after we exit the sphere of influence of Minmus. So pretty much all I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with just the flyby for right now, and then at the apoapsis of Kerbin's new orbit, or our new orbit around Kerbin, I'm going to go a little bit retrograde and get that periapsis with inside the atmosphere, and we're going to kind of do an aerobraking thing like we did last video. But it should work out better this time. We shouldn't have to go on 2 passes. We should just get it right away. We'll make it happen. We'll make it work. I mean, we just did all the science and stuff for it, so yeah, this is going to be way easier than I thought it was going to be. This is going to be a short video, I tell you that. Okay, so let's set a maneuver right here at the apoapsis. Actually, we don't even really need to do that. We just need to warp there, right? Apoapsis, or a maneuver node's not really important right now, you know? Because we can just throttle up and down and just fix it, because this is one of those easier transfers and maneuvers to do anyway. So all we need to do is shift up a little bit, shift the throttle just a tad in the retrograde direction, so that we bring our periapsis around Kerbin down, and we're going to bring it down just right inside the atmosphere once again. So right at like 64. 64 is good, and I think we still have a hell of a lot of delta V. What are we at? We still have over 2,000 delta V. So we can really circularize our orbit inside Kerbin's atmosphere and the very top of it, and still get a nice circular orbit and slow down really quickly. This is gonna go good. This is good. This is really good. This is actually like a really good mission. A really good, quick flyby of Minmus. I'm just kind of shocked at how quickly and how well this went. So I'm like super apologetic about it for some reason because I don't feel like I'm filming it correctly and I feel like the recording is really sloppy, but it's working and I'm gonna definitely use this as an episode because why not, you know? We're doing what we set out to accomplish. So we're just gonna go ahead and go with it. Now I just hope we can figure out a way so that we don't land on the dark side of the moon because I really don't feel like doing that. It really annoys me when I land on the dark side of the moon. I don't know, or the dark side of the moon. Fucking Kerbin. Not the moon. We can pretty much just like kill our velocity down to 1,000 meters right now and just really get this done really quick. Okay, so I'm not even gonna set a maneuver because I know we can do this straight away with the amount of delta V that we have. So pretty much all I'm going to do is burn in the retrograde direction, circularize, once again, this orbit until it's just above the atmosphere up here. That way we can still try to land on the light side of Kerbin and actually see the splashdown and stuff like that. So I'll say around 270 kilometers is good enough. Now we're just going to basically time warp through the atmosphere. What's our periapsis right now? 58,000. We shouldn't see too much heating. I don't think the atmosphere is too dense at that point to cause us to overheat and burn up our ship. So we should be fine there. And as long as our apoapsis stays roughly around the neighborhood that it's staying, maybe a little bit less, as long as it stays there, we should be able to land on the light side of Earth or Kerbin very, very easily. Yeah, and we're definitely not seeing any sort of overheating with our vessels, so all is good. All is really good. Oh, I reset it. Oh, I just reset the materials bay. Why did I do that? I just wanted to close the door. I just lost some of the science we did at Minmus. Oh well. Okay, so here we are in the apoapsis, our very new apoapsis of Kerbin's orbit. And once again, we're just going to go on the retrograde and turn this orbit into a suborbital trajectory by slowing down and being able to land on Kerbin. So I think we'll come through the atmosphere pretty hot at this altitude, but we do still have plenty of fuel to slow down as well as a heat shield. So honestly, I'm not too worried about it. Alright, and then we have now bled off as much velocity as we can with our remaining fuel, and all we need to do is decouple, and we start slowing our velocity with our heat shield. Now we're starting to pick up some heat, and we are also starting to pull off some of the last remaining velocity that we have, and soon our parachute should be able to deploy. There we go. We have opened our parachute, and we should have a very nice, stable, and slow landing. And there we go. We're at kind of like a parking speed of right around 7 meters per second, so I'm going to see if jettisoning this heat shield will change that any, and we do drop it by about a whole meter per second, so that's really good. So we are going to, I just wanted to make sure that our Science Junior doesn't blow up. Even though we didn't get any of the Minmus science back to Kerbin, we still did get some science, I believe 4.9 science from space near Kerbin. I feel like I mixed up Minmus and Kerbin there for a second. Oh well, we're getting some science back from it. It survived the splash landing back on Kerbin, so all we're gonna do is recover the vessel at this point, because I don't think we can do any more science experiments from Kerbin's waters, except we're at Kerbin's shores and not Kerbin's water, so we can. Okay, interesting. Don't know why we're at the shores, but that works for me and Jebadiah here. Let's go ahead and take a surface sample and do an EVA report as well, and we're just going to board back in the command module and recover the vessel. And there we go, we have completed our mission once again, so 156.4 science earned for a grand total of 509. Again, we can do a lot with 500 science points. Jebadiah also gains 3 more XP and advances to level 2, so that'll help us out, I believe, with the radial in and radial out maneuver holds. So we earned just 2 ribbons for the whole mission, so first Minmus EVA, and we also get a fast orbit ribbon, which is awarded for a less than 250 seconds time to our first orbit. So as sloppy as it may have seemed to me, our mission did go very, very well, and I'm surprised it went as well as it did. And I think this video is going to be very short, so I think that'll be nice and refreshing for our KSP career mode series. And so that's pretty much going to be the end of this video. I do want to check out the mission control for the contracts that we're going to be doing in the next video, and it looks like we have 3 Minmus related ones. So we get the Record Keeping Society once again, and this one wants us to orbit Minmus, so pretty easy based on what we just saw in this video. Go on an orbital spacewalk near Minmus, okay. So we're going to go ahead and accept that. We can easily do that. We also have plant a flag on Minmus from Sean's cannery, which, as the title of the mission kind of hints at, we're going to plant flag on Minmus. So we're going to absolutely accept that one. And then science data from surface of Minmus from Reaction Systems Ltd. And all this wants us to do is transmit or recover scientific data from the surface of Minmus. So it looks like we're going to be landing on Minmus in the next episode. Let's go ahead and accept that contract. And I believe this one doesn't want us to land on Minmus yet. So I think the plan for the next episode is we're going to complete this contract first, because all it's telling us to do is orbit Minmus and go on an orbital spacewalk near Minmus. But after we have completed those two, we can also come back to the mission control and check and see if the record-keeping society wants us to then land on Minmus and just squeeze out as much fun, science, and reputation as we can from these guys. And then we'll also complete these two contracts in the process of doing so. And I'm also seeing another contract that I really like from Sean's cannery, and it's to plant a flag on the moon. And the duration for this is like 9 years and 300 days. So if we accept this, we can always come back to this later and kind of do a plant the flag on the moon in a different way, so like with a rover or some sort of mobile base, instead of just a regular old moon landing like we did in the last video. So I'm gonna go ahead and accept this contract as well, so we can just come back to it later because it's easy and we already know how to do it. And so with that, this is gonna be the end of this video. If you stayed this long, if you enjoyed your time, go ahead and leave a like, comment, or subscribe down below. Make sure you hit that little bell notification so that you get notified every time that we go live or post a new video. You can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and trueachievements.com to keep up to date on other projects that I'm working on or to peek in at my daily life if you so choose. So thank you guys once again so much for watching, and I will see you dudes in the next video.